Ladies and gentlemen, this is the 12th and final round.
Right hand, Golovkin steps in and down he goes again. Unbelievable. Mayweather makes him pay. What a rookie mistake. A sensational left hook by De La Hoya.
It's facts. I'm the best. You know what I mean? Sometimes I don't want to believe it myself, but it's the truth. I'm the best. I'm going to show you how great I am.
From Southern California, this is the Last Round Podcast.
Welcome back to episode 234 of the Last Round Podcast. Thank you again for joining us. We do have an interview we recorded earlier today with Ricardo El Niño Sandoval, flyweight contender who's fighting this Saturday on DAZN for the Golden Boy card. He is the opening bout on the broadcast. So that will be a little later in this episode. But let's jump right back into our normal schedule. Fight reviews this past Saturday, the 3rd of June, from the Little Caesars Arena in Detroit, Michigan on DAZN. Claressa Shield, 14-0, gets the unanimous decision win over 10 rounds over Marisela Cornejo, who takes the 6th loss of her professional career. Shields retains her undisputed middleweight titles of the world. Detroit, Michigan used to be a big hotbed for boxing. It hasn't really been in the last several years, but kind of cool for them to at least get a fight here. So for all the fans in that area, even our listeners who are from Detroit, hopefully you kind of get some more fights. These big cities and all that. But Mike, we talked about this fight after it finished. I mean, is there really anybody that's a serious threat to Claressa Shields?
Not really, going off the performances so far against the other girls. It's kind of like we touched on last week. It's just unfortunate she can't cut down, she's too big to face like the Katie Taylors, the Amanda Serranos. They're probably the only girls that have, the talent that she has. It's just unfortunate, the middleweights and the super middleweights, just not that talented. They're just kind of big, strong girls, but they don't have the same technique as Claressa Shields. They can't throw the amount of punches that Claressa Shields throws. So, yeah, it was kind of a really boring kind of treading water fight. You could see after a couple of rounds just that, Cornejo was just not in the same league as Claressa, unfortunately. And, Claressa got to the point where she was looking for the knockout that much that she kind of let her technique go, didn't she, a bit? She was throwing a lot of big, wide punches just over the top, trying to connect because she was just eager to try and get the knockout in front of her home fans. Can't really blame her for that. You could hear the coach in the corner telling her, like, hey, stop these big overhand rights. Just the straight up the middle was the one that was working, and she threw it a few times. And then I think she realized that was the money shot for her. Just unfortunate that, Mari had I don't know whether it's just Claressa doesn't punch that hard because she's actually I don't think she's had a single knockdown in her pro career. Or Mari just has a chin of steel, it seemed, on the night. So, yeah, unfortunate for her. I know that she looks like she's going to face the winner of, Savannah Marshall and, Frances Cruz DAZN. She's fought both of those before.
She's already beat both of them.
She's already beat both of them. I would say maybe Savannah could come at it from a different angle. And, maybe Savannah, she's already fought her once. She'd be a bit more comfortable fighting her a second time. Maybe it would be a little bit closer. But yeah, we're watching her. She's gone through the competition and she's going through it again. Because that's how much how weak, unfortunately, the middleweight division is in the in the women's division. But like you said, for Detroit, a good turnout. 11,000 reported in the stadium, and it was priced appropriately, in my opinion. You could get tickets, in kind of like the nosebleeds for $15, which is good. Instead of having nobody there, charge a little bit less and fill the place up, which is what they seem to do, which, like you said, for someone that doesn't get a lot of boxing, I think you could tell that, a lot of people came out because they probably hadn't seen a home fight for a long time.
I did see some photos of and obviously on the broadcast, how the crowd looked, and it looked like a better turnout than I thought, which is good. And then there was a reported figure of 11,000 and change. Do you think that's an accurate figure, or do you think it's a little bit inflated?
I mean, I know that they gave a lot away. They even said on the broadcast they gave like 1,000 to local kids who were allowed to come, to fill up the stadium. I know that they did comp a lot of tickets, and they were as low as $15 and stuff like that. Maybe I don't know, because I think the stadium, from what I've Googled, I think it's built for like 20,000. So looking at that and kind of comparing what was there, it looked about right. Maybe 10, 11,000. But
yeah, it looked like a decent turnout. I was like, oh, okay. I didn't expect that much, and it was a pretty decent turnout. So
yeah, because if you look at it in comparison, I think I texted you this. I think Davis and like Ryan Garcia, not when they fought each other, but some of their previous fights were like 13,000, 14,000.
Right.
So if she's pulling 10, 11,000, then fucking good for her.
Yeah. Just keep putting her there in Detroit. If Detroit's going to show up for her, might as well keep utilizing the crowd there. So moving on to fight previews. This upcoming Friday, a Friday fight, the 9th of June, from the Casino Miami in Miami, Florida, on Fight TV, pay-per-view for $25 American dollars. I'm not sure. Might be free in the UK. I'm not sure. We would have to double check on that. He's back. And the tweet that we tweeted about this fight and him coming back has been our most popular tweet as of this moment, this week. So you can't tell me people don't care about this guy, because he's still, even though he's had some losses and, he's been out kind of all over the place, people still care. The problem, Adrien Broner, 34-4-1, returns to the ring for his first fight under Don King Promotions as he goes up against Bill Hutchinson, 22-4. Let me say that slower. I think Hutchinson, isn't he a lawyer?
Correct, yeah, lawyers.
So I saw earlier this week, Broner was talking about in the press conference or in one of the media events they had for this fight, where classic Broner, but he's like, oh yeah, after I beat him, I'm going to hire him as my lawyer. And he said something along the lines of, I'm going to fire my current lawyer and hire this guy, because he knows what it means to fight, and then he'll fight for me in the courtroom. So I was like, man, people can criticize this guy, but he's got the personality, man. He's got the personality. What do you think? What do you think about this fight, and what do you think about this Broner Don King relationship?
It's missing the PBC touch, because we put that post out on the Twitter, and we had quite a few interactions that I'm sure you saw. People were like, "What the hell? Broner's fighting this week?" And if he was under PBC, Showtime, those guys, people would know. People would know that, but Don King doesn't really have that social media savvy or reach, because of his age, and he doesn't do consistent promotion. He's not like he's got a card every other week, like Matchroom, PBC, Golden Boy. So yeah, you have to really go and search to find, AB Fight Week is normally hilarious, right? He's on his social media, he's got the press conferences, he's got the weigh-in, like you said, he's a laugh a minute. So yeah, I've kind of missed that bit, when I saw that he was back this week. So that's the link up with Don King. I just hope AB earns some money now, because he's flyweight world champion, at 130, 135, he was the business. Unfortunately, kind of just due to, I think, not being in the gym enough, not being strict enough, that's why he's kind of fighting up at 147, and the power's not traveled for him, because you can see that in some of his fights. But I hope he's just more sensible. He makes the money, because it would be hard to see, Broner in 5-6 years from now on social media, having no money, having to live with his friends or whatever, stuff like that. So I just hope that now he seems a little bit more sensible. He seems to have got his head screwed on. I've been watching him on his Instagram, and he looks like he's in flipping amazing shape. I could think he could probably do 140 if he's strict enough, and he get another 2 fights. I think he can move down, which would be good for him as well. Give another little run at 140, and some of the names at 140 would be really good for him. Good paydays.
Ryan Garcia.
Yeah, that's why I hope. Imagine that build up. Oh, that'd be amazing. Ryan Garcia. Or Teofimo Lopez. Him and Teofimo's dad.
No, right. Yeah, I'm telling you, you're right. The 140. If he can make 140, there's some, and these fighters would take it. I think would take it, because Broner's probably. I don't think anybody expects him to have a long-term deal with Don King. So if Top Rank and ESPN offered him Teofimo Lopez at 140 at ESPN, I mean, Broner obviously wants to get paid, but I think he would most likely go. And if Oscar De La Hoya, who actually tweeted about Broner this week and tagged him and said, good luck or something, call me so I can get you a big fight or something like that. Imagine him and Ryan Garcia at 140 on DAZN.
Just imagine the pay-per-view.
Yeah, I could see it, man. I could see it. Yeah, I know people are going to be like, I know Broner's not the same guy. He needs to retire or something like that. I mean,
if Ryan and Davis did, I think they're probably the closer numbers, like 900,000 than the 1.2. But that's just my opinion.
Yeah, we had like 3 different reports ranging in like 500,000 ranges of each other.
Broner would do more. You
think so? No, I don't think so. I don't think you'd know. I don't think he would do more than Davis and no. Dude, I hope it happens. I hope it happens so we can come back the next week and I can tell you that you were wrong.
We just posted on our Twitter.
Yeah, but that doesn't measure.
But dude, 3 or 4 times the amount of interactions and views.
No, I mean you're right, but like that doesn't. How many times have we talked about on this show about like somebody like example Ryan Garcia? The buys and the ratings never translated to views on DAZN or anything like that, like or pay-per-view buys. I mean, how many times have we talked about that? And his first time on pay-per-view was against, one of the biggest stars in the sport, who was also been on pay-per-view and who has a big following of his own. So, he starts at the top. But even De La Hoya and Golden Boy and other promoters have said it like, these social media followers haven't proven to transition into viewership. So I don't think so. I don't think it comes close to Davis and Garcia, but I think it does better than people think.
I think it was good numbers.
Yeah, no, that's why I said I think it does better than people think, where people are going to be like, oh, those are actually pretty decent numbers.
I mean, everyone just loves Broner.
You see, and if you price it, maybe $49.99?
I mean, we'd like to see that, but they wouldn't, would they? I don't think they would.
You never know. You really never know.
Rounding it off, I think all of us who are boxing fans hope he gets a win.
Yeah, I think if he gets a win, he's definitely gonna I think he gets at least one more like big name fight. I think he does. And who knows where? Who knows where? Could be DAZN, could be. If you had to pick, if he gets one more big fight, let's just say by the end of this year, or even sometime next year, maybe by the end of this year, which promoter, which network does he fight under for that fight?
But he's probably tied to Don King for a little bit.
You think so?
I'm sure Don. He's a crook, isn't he? So I'm sure he made him sound like at least 3 fight. I can see him, maybe not by the end of this year, but I could see him in there with like Conor Ben.
Oh wow, that'd be interesting.
At 147.
You have to go to the UK for that.
I could just see that Don King working with Eddie and PBC probably won't share their toys, right? With Don King. I wouldn't have thought. And they've got most of the 147 division, so I could see him in there. I mean, because he's not going to want to fight Virgil Ortiz or Alexis Rocha. I think he sees someone with a big name that's not, Conor Ben's like very come forward fighter. He's not like, super, super talented like a Crawford or,
you know what? I think a Rocha fight at 147 is actually interesting as well.
I don't know if Broner would want it. I'm sure Oscar would do it. I'm sure he would, but would maybe if Broner got a huge payday that's going to kind of help him towards retirement, maybe he'd take it, but.
Well, maybe, but that's an interesting matchup, especially because if Rocha can't get any of these big names, Spence and Crawford, and I mean, they're going to fight in July, so after that, maybe the belts might be vacated, but if he needs a name opponent, why not Broner?
Perfect for both of them, Rocha or Virgil, isn't it?
Yeah, why not? I mean, to stay busy. Yeah. Obviously you want to see them fight like the higher competition, the main guys. But if they can't get them, you got to at least try to stay active. But yeah, Don King Promotions returns this weekend on Fight TV with Adrien Broner headlining. So, Adrien Broner Fight Week, man. It never ceases to impress, right?
Yeah, hopefully.
And also this upcoming Saturday, the 10th of June, from the Toyota Arena in Ontario, California, in Southern California, just outside of Los Angeles, on DAZN, Jaime Munguia, 41-0, goes up against Sergey Derevychenko, 14-4. We will be at this fight. They're live. So tell me if you agree with this or not. I think Derevychenko is the toughest test, even though Derevychenko has some miles on him as a fighter. I think this is the toughest test for Munguia at the moment, or was it Smith? Who do you think?
In terms of performance, it was obviously Hogan, wasn't it? Because he.
Oh well, yeah, Dennis Hogan. That's
yeah,
right.
But like on paper, yes, Smith did a good job. But Smith was obviously, when he fought him, he came back from illness, and as soon as he flew back to England, he was like, "Hey, it's like I want that again. Like when I'm fully fit, he's like, I can beat that guy." So he obviously saw something in that fight where he was like, you know what, like if I was 100%, a fully rested tank, I think I would have a good chance of beating him. Which it didn't happen, but yeah, the technician, right? Sergey Derevychenko, like you said, he's got a few losses. He has been a little bit out the ring for nearly a year. But coincidentally, when you look at it, some of his losses have been to bangers. Like when he fought Triple G, and
he hurt Triple G in that fight. Remember when the referee kind of jumped in?
Yeah,
like in a weird way. Yeah, stopped it for no reason. But you can tell Triple G was hurt, and people were like, "Why would you jump in?" That we're talking about referee shenanigans. That was something right there too, because Triple G was hurt. Imagine if that didn't happen, Derevychenko probably could have gotten something out of that.
Yeah, because he had a split decision loss to Jacobs. Then not long after that, he fought Triple G, unanimous decision, where a lot of people thought, Derevychenko might have sneaked it. Then his other losses have come to Jamal Charlo and Carlos Adames, which was a surprising one, really, back into 2021. If he's got anything left in the tank like he did before, I think Derevychenko gives it a good go. But I think Munguia, just due to the age, I think Munguia still manages to get him and stops him late on.
Possibly, yeah. I think, like you said, just see whatever Derevychenko has left in the tank. But you talked about he lost to Charlo. Even when Charlo beat him, Charlo even said in the post fight, he's like, "Oh, I can see why this guy, is good and why he's fought the biggest names. Like he's like he could fight." Like Charlo said that he's like, this guy can fight. So yeah, I mean, I think Munguia is a favorite, but I think Derevychenko still has something left, and he might, he has a shot here, man. But I think Munguia has the upper edge overall, but I think this is the toughest test of his career so far.
It definitely is, because I don't see Derevychenko being the sort of guy that isn't 100% committed. I don't see him being someone like who lives like a party life or goes away, eating and stuff like that, drinking, and he's gonna. But I think the only thing is it's just Father Time, because he's not been super active.
Yeah,
one fight in 2020, one fight in 2021, one fight in 2022, and this is his first fight of 2023. So I think if he'd been a little bit more active, I think maybe would have picked him to give us a shock. But I think Father Time, undefeated. Father Time is undefeated.
Hey, if Munguia wins, why not? Obviously it comes down to getting him in the ring, but why not get Triple G later this year? Triple G said after the Canelo fight that he's not really retired. Like he still wanted to continue, and he didn't really say he was going to retire. Jaime Munguia, Triple G. That fight was supposed to happen a couple years ago, when Triple G had to switch from Vegas when Canelo got popped, and then Triple G fought in Carson, California at the StubHub Center. Munguia was trying to step up to be the opponent, but the Nevada State Athletic Commission, if you remember, they rejected him as an opponent. Why not now? Full circle. later this year, if Munguia comes out on top this Saturday on DAZN, Munguia Triple G later this year, right? If Munguia can't get like Charlo or any of these other guys, why not?
I could see it.
I would,
Good payday for both of them.
Why not? I would do it. Do it.
Put it this way: the Munguia, Derevychenko. I checked tickets the other day. It's nearly sold out.
Really?
Including the upstairs.
Oh wow! You're kidding. Wow, that's interesting because I think a week or two ago, it was, they were still some seats left. So I wondered. I was like, oh, okay, they should. I knew they were still going to sell a little bit more, but because when we went to the Honda Center in Anaheim, California for, I believe, was it his last fight?
Just a lower bowl.
It was like the lower bowl. I mean, it was a good crowd. It was a good crowd, and they were excited. They were into it, but the lower bowl was filled, but the upper section was closed off. But yeah, I mean, if he essentially almost sold out Ontario, the Toyota Arena, which is what, 10?
Around 10, I think, yeah.
10,000 seats.
So sticking into Southern California against Triple G.
Dude, I'm telling you. Put that at Staples Center, and I think people would show up. I think people would show up for Munguia Triple G at Staples Center. Especially
if you did it like, you might not want to do it, but if you say like, win, lose, or draw, this is Triple G's final fight.
Yeah.
Announce that. You could do it at somewhere big because people would just show up just to say goodbye to Triple G.
Yeah, possibly. Yeah, and then you got Munguia, who's a young guy at the Mexican fan base, Mexican Americans as well. Why not, man? Why not? But he obviously has to get past Derevychenko first on Saturday, this Saturday. So, but yeah, a Triple G matchup, and hopefully by the end of the year would be awesome. For both. In the co-main event, Shane Mosley Jr. 19-4 goes up against Demetrius Ballard 21-1. And 1. I think Mosley's last fight, if I remember correctly, was in Pomona, his hometown, at the Fox Theater in Pomona, which I was there for. He's coming back. He kind of got a little bit of a resurgence in his career, right? I mean, trying to get a couple of these wins. What do you think?
Shocks me. He always seems to shock me. Like he lost to Jason Quigley and then turned around and beat Gabe Rosado. So, yeah, that's
crazy, yeah.
I didn't understand that one at all. So, he's kind of a little bit hot and cold, and maybe it's just like a matchup type thing, like certain styles he's really good with, and maybe others not so much. But interesting fight, though. Demetrius Ballard he's got a little bit of power in him. Only one loss, that was by KO. Last year, people will probably remember he was the opponent for Jaime Munguia. Jaime Munguia TKO'd him in the third round last year. So he's back. I'm guessing Golden Boy maybe had an option on him. That's why he's back again on a Golden Boy show. But I think Mosley, I tend to always back against him, and he always proves me wrong. So I think I'll go with Mosley, but I think it probably goes the full 10 round points decision for Shane Mosley.
And also on the card, Ricardo Sandoval 21-2 against Rocco Santamaro 22-1, almost identical records. We'll touch on this fight a little later in our interview with Sandoval, who joined us as our guest of the week here on the last round. Moving on from Madison Square Garden in New York City on ESPN, not pay-per-view, this is regular ESPN. Josh Taylor 19-0 goes up against Teofimo Lopez 18-1 for the WBO super lightweight title of the world. Hey, I like this fight. This is a fight, man. This could be. I mean, it depends on Lopez. What kind of Lopez we see, because we've seen him at the best in the Lomachenko fight, and we've seen him in the Campos fight where he wasn't the same guy. But assuming we get a ready Teofimo Lopez, which I'm assuming we are, this is a fight, man. This is a fight.
My fight of the year.
You think so?
Yeah, because I think we always said that.
More than Spence Crawford? Oh, I got you there.
See, I don't know.
Yeah, see, don't jump ahead here. I got you.
Maybe because I just like these two more, even though Crawford's probably better.
Well, you can't say because you like them more. I mean, you
Yeah, I
guys
just have more. There's something
competition.
about this. There's something more about this where I'm just like I'm really buzzing for it. Where I don't know. Maybe the Crawford maybe because we waited so long.
Maybe.
But when it gets to fight week, it comes back up when you start watching all of the behind the scenes. I start getting buzzing again for stuff. Whereas this one was, kind of made, and then here we are. Whereas the Crawford Spence one, maybe because it's further away. It's you don't get it until you get closer to the time.
And this is at Madison Square Garden, right? It's not the theater.
I think it's the small room.
Is it? Oh, okay.
I believe so because the tickets weren't great for this either. They weren't selling that great.
Oh, okay, so it is a small room. It's not because I was surprised. I was like, is this the big room?
Yeah, BoxRec only just put MSG. They didn't specify, so I believe it's the small room.
But who do you got? Who are you thinking here?
When you look at the fight, Josh Taylor's obviously been in there with a very hard opponents from the moment he turned pro. I think because of he kind of turned pro like a little bit older because of his amateur career. He was matched, relatively hard. So when he got into those big fights against, your Barancheks and your Regis Prograis and your Jose Ramirez, he was ready. Teofimo Lopez obviously turned pro, kind of couldn't do anything wrong at the beginning. And then, when he got in there, faced Loma, had an unbelievable performance against Lomachenko. Became undisputed in some people's eyes, not in others because of the WBC drama. Gets in there against Campos. I think it's fair to say, obviously, he was kind of distracted, wasn't he, from all the stuff that was going on behind the scenes with his family life and his, all of his private things and stuff like that. Had a, career worst performance against, Campos and lost all of the titles there. I do worry about him looking at the build up to this fight. I was watching those videos, the interviews that they did with Josh and Teo on Top Rank's YouTube last night, which is kind of interesting to watch. And I don't know, there's just something about him where I don't think he's in a good place, like mentally. Just the way that he answers some of the questions. Are you
talking about Taylor or Lopez?
Lopez. The lie that when they brought up, like, well, after the fight, you were caught on camera saying, like, do I still have this? And he's like, oh yeah, I knew they were recording me because I saw the red light on the TV camera. I said that on purpose just to create some drama. I'm like, come on, dude. Like, you're really sticking with that lie like all the time from now. Like, dude, just tell the truth. Like it wasn't a great performance, and I, in the heat of the moment, I was kind of like, dude, like, do I still have it? Because it's not working, it's not clicking right now. But I've gone away, I found it. No, it's clicking again. Right? That's all he had to say. Where it's just.
But isn't it more interesting as a spectator for him to have that type of personality? We just talked about Broner.
He's witty though, whereas Teofimo tries to be witty, and it doesn't come off because if you look at all the comments, like on his Twitter, on the YouTube that I watched, they were all slating him. Like 90% of them were very negative, and they didn't want him to win. And a lot of people were like, "Dude, like Taylor's just got him mentally and stuff like that." So, yeah, I mean, I think Josh Taylor actually stops him.
Oh, really? You think so?
And I love Teo. People that are regular listeners to this show, I was all over Teofimo. When he hit the screen and he was coming up through Top Rank, I was all over him. I loved him. I remember saying multiple times on here, he was a promoter's dream. Remember? Because he would like sing, he would dance, he would do flips, he would wear like the NFL draft, whoever was going to be number one in the NFL draft, he would wear their shirt. Like he was fucking brilliant, getting the knockouts, just doing everything. And then ever since he fell off the ledge, just like he just keeps on dropping. It's like he's not hit the ground yet. He's just literally dropping and dropping and dropping and dropping constantly all the time. And it's, I just think Josh Taylor's got that spite as well in this match. Like he really doesn't like Teofimo Lopez, and he's one of those rare fighters that kind of needs that. Like he needs that spite to get him going, to make him fight really, really well, whereas other fighters shouldn't. There's too much emotion in it. It looks like Josh Taylor kind of needs that for some reason, and he has that in this fight. And I think he's going to set a pace that Teofimo Lopez just can't last, because Teo kind of likes to like move and fake and kind of dictate the pace and then jump in with big shots. I think Josh Taylor's going to just keep him moving, keep him twisting, keep him turning, working at such a high rate that he manages to either TKO or KO in the last third of the fight.
you also got to remember too, Josh Taylor has. We thought I'm surprised that his. Oh, this isn't a catch weight, right? This is at 140.
Yeah.
I mean, last time we were all thinking that Taylor was going to move up, especially when he started vacating all the titles he had. Because he's a big guy. I remember there was a video when him and Crawford met up behind at an arena or something, and Crawford was like, "Hey, he's a big guy," you know,
top ranked gym.
Was that it? Yeah. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, I'm surprised, man. I thought Taylor was going to move up, and because of just the weight class was just too much to make 140. Because between 140 and 147, that's a big jump. That's a big jump.
He admitted on the interview I was talking about on the Top Rank YouTube that, kind of like I said about Navarrete last week, he did that Roberto Duran thing. Like, he became undisputed. He went and partied. He came back into camp severely overweight, had to try and make weight, and that was why, when he got in there with Jack Catterall, that he was a shadow of himself. And then also, I think part of that was due to the performances under Ben Davidson were different, and he kind of admitted, he's like, yeah, we just didn't click. He's like, Ben Davidson is a very defensive minded sort of coach, where the regular style of Josh Taylor, especially under Shane McGuigan and stuff like that, he's pressure, very come forward fighter, constantly pushing you back. And under Ben Davidson, that was kind of the opposite. So I think obviously that performance and then making weight, he decided he needed a new coach. So now he's with Joe McNally in Liverpool, which so far, from what everyone's saying, seems to be going really, really well.
Regardless if he wins or loses, does Taylor move up after this fight?
I think that'll probably be dictated by what he can get. Is there another...
Money-wise?
Yeah, like money-wise. Like, can he get like another huge fight, against somebody down there? Or is he just going to go up to 147? Because, say, for example, Terence Crawford or Errol Spence, one of them wins. We get a winner in that fight. And then either one of them or both of them decide to vacate the titles and move up to 154, like Terence Crawford. If Terence Crawford wins, he's said that he's chasing Charlo. He wants to fight. If all of those belts become vacant, is Josh going to be like, well, okay, the WBO rule is if you move up and you're the world champion, you get a shot at the title. Maybe I'll go up to 147 and, he'll be in there with what it would probably be Josh Taylor and Alexis Rocha.
That'd be pretty sweet. Yeah. Even Josh Taylor, Virgil Ortiz, you never know. Yeah. No, I'm excited for this fight, man. So you said you're going Taylor?
I think so, yeah. I think, like I said, I think he's going to set a pace, and then the last quarter of the fight, I think he manages to just kind of like overwhelm Teo.
You know what? Just to keep it interesting, I'm going Lopez. I think Lopez is even though, like I said, we talked about him facing Lomachenko and then facing Campos. They were two different fighters, and his training regimen was different for both. I think he listened to those criticisms, and I think he realizes this is the moment where he gets back into it. Like, okay, this is my second chance. I think Lopez wins here. I think he does. I don't think he knocks him out. It's Taylor to fight, but I think Lopez outboxes him. It's a close fight. It's going to be a back and forth fight, but I think Lopez gets the nod. I do. Yeah. It's an exciting fight, man. We've had some good fights. Not even going back to last year, but this is a great matchup. This is a great matchup, and I hope it delivers. And it's on regular ESPN. That's great. I mean, this probably, well, I don't want to say it deserved a pay-per-view, but what deserved the pay-per-view more? Devin Haney, Lomachenko, or this one? Got you there again.
That's a hard one because just the time difference. If this was a better time for the UK, I think a lot of people.
But they are fighting in New York. It's a little bit better time.
Yeah, it is a little bit better. Probably Haney Lomachenko. I don't know if Teofimo really sells, and I don't think Josh Taylor, sells a huge amount over here. You do get a lot of Brits, a lot of Scottish people living in the US, so I'm sure they would buy it. But I don't. Teofimo's never. Has he ever been pay-per-view? Was the Lomachenko fight the pay-per-view? That was free as well, right? When he fought Lomachenko.
I think it was free. Yeah, it was during the pandemic.
It was on the normal ESPN, and everyone was raving about it.
Yeah. But yeah, either way, this is a good matchup on free ESPN 2. So check it out. We got Munguia on DAZN, Lopez Taylor on ESPN. Got a good Saturday of fights. In the co-main event on this ESPN card, Xander Zayas 15-0 returns as he goes up against Ronald Cruz 18-2-1. And then also this upcoming weekend from the Wembley Arena on DAZN, Sonny Edwards returns 19-0 as he goes up against Andres Campos, also undefeated 15-0. This is for the IBF. Sonny Edwards for IBF World Flyweight title. What do you think about this matchup?
It'd be a good matchup. I know that Sonny Edwards has kind of talked about that he actually wants to try to knock Campos out, because it's his first fight under the Matchroom banner, I think he wants to try and go in there and make a statement. He's now on the right side of the street, as they say in boxing, with Bam Rodriguez and Julio Cesar Martinez all under the Matchroom banner. So it should be a good fight. I'm sure he wants to get in there, look really, really good, and get the fans excited for those future big fights. Hopefully he gets to unify in those fights. So I think maybe a Sonny Edwards late stoppage, but more than likely it's Sonny Edwards going to points and probably romps home a very simple unanimous decision.
Assuming Edwards wins this fight, do we see him and Jesse Bam Rodriguez fight before the end of the year?
I'd be happy with either of them. If he fights Jesse Rodriguez, Bam Rodriguez, or if he fights Julio Cesar Martinez, either of them.
I think Jesse Rodriguez is the better competitive fight. I think Martinez is a fun fight, but I think Bam is at least personally, I think that's a better fight.
I do wonder if they're going to try to just make it so Bam and Sonny collect the belts and then they face each other in a huge undisputed, or maybe that would be too complicated to do.
Maybe
have Sonny face Julio Cesar Martinez for the IBF and WBC. Try and get Bam to fight Dalakian for the WBA.
IBF. Oh, WBA, that's right.
WBA, and Jesse already has the WBO. And then, so that's like a semi-final. And then obviously the two winners of all four belts, two each, face themselves in the final for all the money, all the gold.
In a perfect world, that could happen.
Exactly.
In the co-main event on DAZN from the Wembley Arena, Shernika Johnson, hope I said that right, 15-1 goes up against, is it Ellie or Eli?
Ellie Scotney.
Ellie Scotney for the 6-0 for the IBF Super Bantamweight title. What do you think about this matchup?
Good step up for Ellie Scotney. I think it'll be a good fight. I think she's kind of one of the best women that's kind of goes under the radar a little bit. So hopefully this is kind of like a breakout fight for her. She seems heavy-handed. I'm going to go for a rare women's stoppage on this because I think Ellie actually is heavy-handed enough that she should be able to do that. And she gets herself her first little bit of silverware. And hopefully she's kind of going to be like a new upcoming crop of women's fighters that hopefully, can, turn into more exciting performances, hopefully be able to stop a few people. It's a good matchup.
News and notes section of this week's episode of The Last Round. Gervonta Tank Davis, who within the last month or so, I believe, was sentenced to, 90 days home confinement. I think reportedly he was supposed to stay under house arrest at his trainer Calvin Ford's home in the city of Baltimore. Well, plans have changed. He will now serve the remainder of his sentence for a hit-and-run crash in jail after violating the rules of his home detention. He was taken into custody the end of last week, I believe, Thursday or Friday. And I mean, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think he was at a condo or somewhere that he had bought, or he had somewhere, and he was there, and then
Hotel.
maybe, yeah, a hotel like a Marriott or something, and I'm assuming his probation officer obviously found out, and then Davis, it was strange because he called from somebody logged into his Instagram account, and then they filmed him calling from the prison or the jail phone, kind of saying that it wasn't his fault. He was blaming his attorney, and I mean, I don't know, man. Like, what? I don't get it. I don't get it. You got off easy. You got off easy. The original judge who we had said that he was going to do jail time, and then like a week before or shortly before the actual sentencing date, the judge, for one reason or another, is switched, and another judge is substituted, and that judge gives him a 90-day home confinement, and he still messes it up, and he now goes to jail. I don't get it, man. I don't get it. And then he comes and they post like a phone call saying that it was his attorney's fault, and like, I don't know, man. What a strange situation that is. But it is what it is. It is what it is. But it supposedly during the court hearing too, he wasn't, he never apologized, and the family or the people who he hit wanted an apology, or he didn't even want to. He said he didn't want something like that. Yeah, yeah. What a horrible situation, for those victims, and then he, maybe it's the celebrity. He thinks he's above the law. He's like, oh, I don't, there's people like that. So seems like we have one of those situations here. Also, Emmanuel Navarrete will defend his WBO junior lightweight title versus Oscar Valdez on August 12th in Glendale, Arizona, according to ESPN. The title fight between both Mexican action fighters will headline a Top Rank on ESPN card. It was actually scheduled to take place this past February for the title that was vacated by Shakur Stevenson, but Valdez had to withdraw because of a rib injury at that time, so it was pushed back to this upcoming August. This is a good fight. Arizona, Glendale, Arizona. They'll probably have a decent crowd there. Quick take. Who do you got in that fight?
Oof, that's an unbelievable fight. Navarrete or Oscar Valdez?
That's a good fight. We're getting some really good fights this year.
Fuck, maybe Navarrete on that.
You think so?
I think
Valdez, man. Valdez always finds a way. He does.
I'd have to see the size difference and stuff. I'd like to see the face-off to see that.
I think they're similar. Or Navarrete might be a little taller.
Yeah. Unbelievable fight though. Can't wait for that one.
We got some good fights this summer, man. We definitely do. But now we're at the point of our interview of the week. He joined us earlier today. His fight. He fights this Saturday on DAZN on the undercard of Jaime Munguia and Sergey Derevychenko. We touched on he's always from Southern California. Ricardo El Niño Sandoval. He goes into talking about how he got into boxing, how in his second amateur fight, the trainer that he had at the time walked out on him after taking a loss, which is crazy situation. He talks about his favorite car when he worked at a tire shop cleaning these cars with his dad who owned a tire shop. He talks about fighting in the UK back in 2021 in a victory over Jay Harris. That experience and, how it's a little bit different than America, how somebody honked at him and then flipped him off. So that was pretty funny. He talks about meeting, the Golden Boy staff for the first time, Oscar De La Hoya and all that. And then some of his favorite shows on Netflix and stuff. And then he also talks about obviously the two losses that he has in his professional career so far, and then obviously his upcoming fight this Saturday on DAZN. What do you think about the interview, Mike?
Good interview. He actually speaks really well for, a fairly young guy. Some of the times when you talk to some of the younger fighters, the younger boxers and stuff like that in the game, they're not as media trained. But yeah, Ricardo came across really well.
So now we're at the time where we're going to, I guess, transition to that interview, right? So we appreciate you guys listening to all of our typical reviews and previews and news and notes of this week's episode of The Last Round. And now for our interview of the week with our special guest, flyweight contender, signed under Golden Boy Promotions, Ricardo El Niño Sandoval.
And now it's time for the last round interview of the week.
And now for our interview of the week here on the Last Round podcast. He fights this upcoming Saturday, the 10th of June at the Toyota Arena in Ontario, California. Not Ontario, Canada. Ontario, California, and Southern California against Rocco Santomaro, or is it Santomaro? I'm not sure. I hope I pronounced that right. Ricardo El Niño Sandoval, 21-2 with 16 KOs, joins us here on the Last Round. Thank you for joining us, Ricardo.
No, thank you for having me, guys. It's an honor.
We appreciate it. Thank you for jumping on. So, before we kind of jump into your fight on Saturday here in Ontario, California on DAZN, I should mention it is on DAZN, and you are the opening bout on the actual broadcast, which is great. Can you tell us, can we start at the beginning and how maybe the first time that you kind of got introduced to the sport of boxing and you kind of realized like, oh, maybe this is something I kind of want to pursue. Can we start there?
Yeah, of course. So my dad owns a tire shop here in Bloomington, and I was right there hanging out with my dad here at the shop. And one of my dad's friends come in and his kid at the time came in with hand wraps. And my dad asked his friend, I was like, hey, what happened to your son? He's like, oh, nothing. You just came from the boxing gym. And he still has his hand wraps on. He's like, oh, okay. And my dad looks at me because we're about the same age. My dad looks at me and he was like, hey, would you fight him? And I looked at him, I was like, yeah, I'm down to fight. And my dad's friend was like, no, you can't fight outside. It has to be like, they have to like fight in the ring, get him registered at the boxing gym, and they could one day spar, right there at the gym with rules and everything, headgears and gloves. And my dad looked at me. I was like, yeah. I was like, I always wanted to box. Like my dad has always been a fan of boxing, so we'll watch fights here and there. And then so I was like, yeah, I was interested. I believe like a month, 2 months later, they registered me. They registered me in the boxing gym. And then 2 weeks later, I got a little training in, and then we sparred. And ever since then, I just stuck with it, and then I fell in love with the sport.
You're leaving all the fans waiting, Ricardo. Who won?
It was I put a beating on him. even though like for me, I didn't have no stance. I was like, for me, it was more like a street fight, you could say. And I think ever since then, the kid never went back to the gym.
Oh, so you scared him away after that as a fighter.
Yeah, ever since then he didn't came back, and I think he went to a different sport. I think he went back to baseball, I think it was. So I stuck with it, and the rest is history, you could say.
So you mentioned that your dad was kind of a fan of the sport. Sometimes you guys would watch some of the fights back in the day. Who were some of your dad's favorite fighters? And then what is your earliest memory of a fight that you guys watched maybe on pay-per-view, on HBO, Showtime, as you were growing up?
Yeah. I would say one of my dad's favorite fighters is Juan Manuel Marquez. Julio Cesar Chavez. Those are one of his two favorite fighters. And the latest memory that I have, I think it was a Pacquiao Marquez, when Marquez knocked out Pacquiao. We were at we had a big carne asada party and everything at one of my dad's friends. Everybody was drinking, having a fun time, and when then the knockout came, everybody was jumping, screaming. It was like an amazing time. And it was probably one of like the craziest things that we have seen, and it was a surprise that Marcus had knocked out Pacquiao. So it was just crazy.
Who were some of the fighters that you, maybe some of your favorite fighters, either growing up or after you got really interested in the sport, that you kind of followed and you kind of idolize in a way?
Yeah, I would say Teofimo Lopez. About the same weight class. He was very technical with his the way he threw his punches, his guard, and everything. So I really liked him. Mike Tyson, with his power, his head movement, even his footwork was amazing, for being a heavyweight. And at the time, as of right now, like growing up, I would say Lomachenko. Just his movement, his footwork, is also his technique, how he uses the distance, the way he uses like block shots. And he creates his own angles. It's something that it amazed me, and then just intrigued. It was intriguing to the eye.
What did you think about that fight? Actually, really quick, I wanted to get your take on that. The Lomachenko-Haney.
It was a close fight. I thought Lomachenko won. I thought Lomachenko did enough to win the round, to win rounds and win the fight. But I don't know what people are looking at, but I thought Lomachenko had won, which is, it's kind of devastating. You put in all the hard work. It's a dream that he always wanted, to become an undisputed champion. And getting that taken away after all the hard work, is tough.
So you mentioned a few minutes ago that your dad owned a tire shop, or he worked at a tire shop or something like that, right?
Yes, yeah. He has it's like a family tire shop that we have here in Bloomington. It's called Quality Tire Shop here in Bloomington.
And Bloomington, California, for fans who are not in California, is probably about, what would you say, maybe 50, 60 miles outside of downtown LA, maybe something like that?
From LA is about an hour.
Yeah, it's about an hour.
Yeah, about an hour from LA. Yeah.
So on the tire shop, did you ever find yourself, even now, as you're a professional, doing that old school drills where you use that big sledgehammer and you hit the tires? Have you ever done that?
Yeah, I used to work there when I was when I ever first started working there. I was like 6 years old. Just cleaning the rims. Cleaning, just like sweeping around, cleaning the little mess. And I get like, people will see me, and I was really small, so people will see me, and I'll get like $5 tips of dollars, $2 tips. It was something that it was really cool for me. Winning money at the small age. And then little by little, I was growing up, I was able to hold up the machines and then take out the tires, take out the airs, even do the changing of the tires. So it was something that I learned growing up, but it was something that I didn't want to work. And, I feel like I want to have a lifestyle where I could give a better life to my future, future family and my kids and everything, So it was something that I didn't want to pursue.
Working in a shop, where you're seeing cars all day, I guess, at that time, and it could be still today, what was your favorite car?
A Camaro. A Camaro was always my a car that I always dreamed of. And actually, about 7 years ago, I think it was my second or third fight. No, my second fight fighting here in the U.S. with Golden Boy. I bought a 1973 Camaro.
Oh wow!
I bought it, yeah, and I got it really cheap. I got it for $3,000. I think the guy wanted $7,000, but we negotiated. He saw that I was really young. I was 18 at the time, and he saw that I really had that I really wanted to invest and have the car and invest it for myself in the future. So he was like, he gave me for that cheap. And then as of right now, it's getting work done, working it little by little, and you could say I already have my dream car.
Wow. So you still have it as of today?
Yes, I still have it. Yeah, it's a car I always wanted, so I'm not giving that. I'm not selling that, especially a classic car.
Right.
Absolutely. So, when you turned professional, or not even professional, maybe when you kind of got into just real, I guess, sanctioned fights, what was the first time that you really And it could have been maybe sparring in the gym or something, but do you remember the first time that you really got punched in the face or you got hit with a good shot and you're just like, oh man, okay, this is real. I got to push through this.
I believe it was a body shot that got me. You know, body shots, it was you know, you feel it and then you can't breathe and you have that feeling right there. And I was like, oh damn. I was like, okay, this is for real. Like, you cannot play this sport. You know, it's something that's really serious. You know, and it could be dangerous at the same time. And that's what got me. Like, there's a lot of people that say, oh, I used to. Like, you tell them, oh, you're a boxer. Like, yeah. I was at my time. I used to box. You know, it's like everybody says that they used to box. It's like, why not? Why didn't you stick with this? Like, it's something that it's not for everybody, you know. So it was the first time that I said it was a body shot that got me, and I was like, damn, no, this is real.
Ricardo, you have a story about, I think it was your second loss as an amateur, where your coach just left you in the ring. Yes.
So I lost my first 2 amateur fights. I had my first trainer. And on my second amateur fight, I believe I won the first round. It was and then the second two rounds, it was really close. I lost both of them, and then I guess my trainer was a little frustrated with me, that I wasn't listening. And he left before, like, I guess he already knew that I was gonna lose. He left me, and he left me with my headgear on, my gloves on, and everything. And I was small, so I was confused, like, what to do. And then gladly, the trainer that is my trainer today, he came up and took my gloves out, took my headgear, and he's like, okay, go up there and see what the results is. And I lost, and then ever since then, and I have the trainer that I have today. You know, I've stayed with him ever since then. But it's a crazy story that I have.
With the trainer, which is Jose Torres.
Yes, Jose Torres.
Did you know him before, or was that the first time you'd ever seen him?
No, he used to go. He would go to the gym that I used to go, like, here and there. He used to go to Lincoln Boxing. I used to train in Corupa Valley, so it was about like 10 minutes away from the gym. So he'll come and go to that gym, and he was there at the time, and he already knew who I was. And I seen him. I didn't really know who it was, but I seen him around, and good thing he was there and he helped me out.
What do you think? Just speculating here, but what do you think? That trainer that did that to you on that second amateur fight. What do you think he would say today, seeing where you're at right now?
No idea. He's probably scratching his head, thinking, maybe he could have acted differently.
Mm-hmm.
But you said I fucked up.
Pretty much, yeah. You said that he was probably frustrated and that you probably weren't listening. Do you feel like you weren't listening, or do you think that he was just frustrated because it was a tougher fight for you?
I would say I have no idea, man. I only had like a month of experience, so there's much I could do, right? There's much you could teach me in a month, and he got me on there, and I fought, and I tried my best. I tried my best, and I think it should have been enough, but I guess he was just a little frustrated that I could have done a little better. But I just don't know. I was lack of experience, you could say.
How was your amateur career? I saw that you fought over in Russia. How was that?
Yes, I fought in Russia, and I got invited to. I believe it was like Russia versus the USA. I got invited, and I won. I got first place. It was a great experience. Fighting in Russia it was very amazing. And I actually got my fastest knockout in the amateurs right there. It was 26 seconds. And it was a great experience.
What's the biggest memory out of your amateur career that you remember and you're always going to remember? What stands out from the amateur days?
I would say the Russia, and then also winning the national silver gloves. I think those are the top two. Because the national silver gloves, it's really tough to make it to nationals because you have to fight. You have to there's advancing tournaments. You first fight at the district, and then you fight in. You advance to state, And then from state, you advance to regionals. And then from regionals, if you keep winning, that's when you advance to nationals. And then in nationals, I won first place. I won the tournament. And then at the end, I was awarded the best boxer of the whole tournament. So it was something that, it was a big award that I wasn't expecting. And, it caught me by surprise. And it will always stay with me.
Ricardo, you actually had the big decision to make, right? I think there was talks of you waiting and maybe going to the Olympics, and then you were going to have to wait, 3 or 4 years, or turning pro.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and that's a decision that we had in mind, because we always want to go to the Olympics. It was something that we always wanted, but that's when, unfortunately, that was the time when they switched the age limit, I believe, because they took up the headgears. So they changed the age from 17 to 19. So I was gonna wait until I believe the 2022 Olympics, and I was like, it's way too much time. So, and just like, it's too much time to see if I make it to the Olympics. I still have to go to Tri-Olympics and do all the other stuff. So I was like, let's just turn pro. And that's what we did. We turned pro at age of 17. I did my couple fights in TJ. And then I had the chance to fight for Golden Boy.
What do you remember about your pro debut?
My pro debut, it was in Algodones in Mexicali. I believe I was the first fight or second fight. I don't remember. I was the second fight, I believe. And my parents, they don't have papers, so they can't go to Mexico. So two of my dad's friends, it was my trainer, my two trainers, and 3 of my dad's friends came with me. And at the time when I was warming up, he, I guess there was like a banda in the outside, and he was like, "Hey, you want me to get you the banda for your entrance for your first fight?" I was like, "Damn, that'll be sick." And I was like, "Yeah." I was like, "All right." Boom! They got him for an hour. In my first debut, they had a banda for me, which was really cool. And it was a great. The fight that we had. I think I won by knock. Yeah, I won by knock in the 3rd round, but he was a tough opponent. It was no easy task.
When was the first time any promoter, which I'm assuming it's Golden Boy that probably contacted you first, when was the first time that you were aware that they were potentially interested in signing you?
Yeah, Golden Boy was the first one. Because my trainer Jose Torres, he used to train. He was trainer of Mauricio Herrera. So when they were when Mauricio was in training camp and everything, they would come and visit Mauricio, and then Monchis would talk to Robert Diaz at the time, and he was telling him, "Hey, like, we got this kid right here. My trainer will always tell him, it's like, oh, we got this kid right here. And at the time, like, everything's like, just give me out. At the time, I was 14, and he's like, as soon as he turns 18, bring him. Let me know again, and I'll give him the opportunity to fight. And as soon as I turned 18, I fought under the card of Mauricio Herrera versus Soto Caras at the finals in spring, and ever since then, I've been fighting with them.
Wow,
that was a good fight.
Yeah, that was a good card too.
Yeah,
that was a good
fight.
Yeah, it was a great fight. Yeah.
So what do you remember from meeting? Because obviously Golden Boy, they have a lot of people that work there, a lot of people to make that whole train keep going forward. But Oscar De La Hoya is, the main guy of the company. It's his company. He's Oscar De La Hoya. He's the guy, right?
Yeah.
What do you remember about the first time meeting him?
It was amazing. I think the first time he was, like I said, Mauricio was in camp. I think it was versus Danny Garcia. I think Mauricio was in that camp. And I was training there at I think Capital Punishment Gym. And it was Oscar De La Hoya, Eddie Gomez, and Robert Diaz walked in. And at the time, you see 3 of them, and I'm like, oh, I gotta train hard today. Getting the punching bag, like everything, try to do everything perfect. And I have old pictures with them, and it was crazy. I probably have to show. I'm gonna try to show Oscar De La Hoya the pictures that I have. You probably won't remember, but it's probably something that you probably laugh at and then like say like, oh damn, like good memories back then.
How did you feel, after, starting with Golden Boy, especially at 18, because that, you're still very, very young. You're still young today, but there's not that many people who get signed that early and stuff like that. So you got very, very lucky and blessed in that regard. But as you were going through the fights and stuff like that, when did you feel that maybe you needed like higher competition, like at which fight after being signed by Golden Boy? Like you felt like, okay, I leveled up. Yeah. Now who's next? How many fights in?
Man, I really, really know. But there was a fight where I was, I think it was my 10th fight or 11th. I remember that shit. I was still ranked number like 90 something in the world. And I think on my 7th fight, I fought a guy named Brent Venegas. He was 3-0. 3-0. He came from the Olympics. And I was obviously coming in as the underdog because I wasn't fighting his hometown. And we talked to Golden Boy and we told him that this fight had came up. And they were telling us like do not take the fight, and they were like, I think he's like, what do you guys think of this fight? And we told them, and it was, I think we got this fight. It was a great opportunity for me. When we went over there, and I won that fight in Reno. But at the time, there was this guy named Oscar Valdez. I think he was ranked number 15 in the world, and at the time I was ranked number 90 something. And the opportunity came. They called and they were like, "Hey, would you like to fight him?" And we're like, yeah. I was like, it's a great chance to get into the rankings. And I took the fight and we won every round of that fight. And ever since then I dropped from, I was like 90 something in the world. I dropped all the way to 14 in the world. So that's where it pushed me there. And then I started getting better fights, and then little by little, that's when I got the chance to fight Jay Harris, for the title eliminator, and then it put my name more into the rankings. And then hopefully one day get the world title shot.
So you fought Jay Harris in the UK. You traveled to the UK in 2021, right?
Yes.
What do you remember about the UK atmosphere, UK fans, and that fight in particular? What stands out?
Was funny though. The thing that when I got there, the thing that stood out the most was the streets.
Yeah,
because they're flipped, right? In the US, it's like it was weird for me seeing the opposite of the lanes. And crazy story, I almost got ran over. Actually, I was walking, because I was there a week before. So we went to I think there was a mall out there, and we were walking at the time when I was walking. I was across the street. I usually look this way because that's where the cars were coming from in the US. So I looked this way. I looked to my right, and then I see no cars coming. But because I was in the UK, I was supposed to look to my left first. And I almost took a step, and that guy honked at me. Bam! And I was like, oh, snap. And he took out the middle finger at me, and I was like, I'm sorry. I was like, obviously he didn't know that I was from the US. But, it was a crazy story that I have, And also the people over there in the beginning. Obviously, I was fighting at enemy territory. So in the beginning, everybody was booing at me when I walked out and everything. But one thing I respect from them is that when I won, everybody showed love and they showed their respect, and it was something that I admire from them.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, that's definitely a cool story to hear. Fast forwarding a little bit, obviously, because you're 21-2 with 2 losses. So that first loss that you got, how did that feel? Because there's some fighters, and as a fighter, nobody wants to take a loss, and some can bounce back better than others, and some never bounce back at all. when you took that first loss in your career as a professional, how did you bounce back from it? How did you feel?
It was really hard for me, because it was barely my fifth fight, and I was fighting in TJ, and it was really tough. I believe both of us were 4-0, and I took, the loss was really tough for me because, I believe I won that fight too, which was tough, and coming back, and I talked to my trainer, and I was like, "Hey," he's like, "What do you think?" And this and that, and he was like, "Oh, then we gotta continue working hard and everything." And he's like, "Okay." Boom, it just got me to train harder, put more discipline into my training, and as soon as I did that, it just I wasn't scared to lose that. Like every other fighter like today, I already had the feeling of losing, and it was something that I didn't want to experience again. So, I pushed harder, and it got me where I was at. I did lose again, and in a close fight, but it was in the high stage now. So it was something that, it still hurt. It still hurt. The second loss, but I was, hopefully to bounce back out of this one too.
So that second loss was against David Jimenez it was a WBA eliminator last year on the undercard of Ryan Garcia, Javier Fortuna at Staples Center. There was a lot of people. I wanted to get your take on this, obviously, but there was a lot of people ringside. Mike and I were there for that fight, and there was other people in the media and other ringside spectators who still felt that you won, even with being knocked down towards the end of the fight. Did you feel that you won that fight?
Yeah, I believe that won the fight. Throughout, maybe I gave him 3-4 rounds. It was a close fight, but I still think I did better. I did way better than him, but I guess it's part of the sport. You got to live and continue living.
And then you bounced back pretty quickly. You got back in the ring not too long after this past February.
Yeah.
On February 18th, to be specific, where you beat and stopped Gerson Ortiz. After getting back in that victory column, did it feel kind of like because you've already taken your first loss, so it wasn't like it was your first one, it was your second, but it's still tough. Nobody wants to take losses. Yeah. But kind of getting back into, what was the difference between getting back into the winning column after your first loss, a couple years ago, and then getting back into the winning column as after your second loss today?
I think the big difference was that people kind of know who I am now, and then people expect a little bit. They expect a little bit more. Like, okay, he's coming off a loss. Let's see how he's gonna react. Let's say if he still has it. There's a lot of those questions that still hit. And back then there's nobody knew me. I fought in TJ, and it's something that you have to control, and when fighting, I had no pressure. I trained hard. As when a fighter trains hard in the gym, he has confidence in himself when he gets back to the ring. So, I was confident going back after the loss, and good thing everything went well and I got the win.
Ricardo, do you think you'll be a better fighter or contestant on Ninja Warrior?
I always wanted to join the Ninja Warriors. I used to like watching it, and it was something that I would love to experience. The Ninja Warriors, the obstacles and doing all that, and it's really cool.
Are you good at that stuff, like pulling yourself up and climbing on things and keeping your balance? And
I think I am. I never tried this, so it's something that I would enjoy. I love to do. I would tell my trainer that we should go do the Spartan races, do all the obstacles and do all that, but he never, he says yes, but when it's time to do it, but he's like, I got something to do. But that's something, Ninja Warriors is something that I always wanted to do. Even the wipeout challenges is all that is really cool.
So focusing on your fight this Saturday, the 10th of June, as we mentioned, in Ontario, California, on DAZN from the Toyota Arena. You're going up against Rocco Santamaro, who's 22-1. So you guys almost have identical records, pretty close. Without giving away obviously any type of strategy, what do you know about your opponent, and how do you plan on approaching this guy on Saturday?
So the thing that I've seen about him is that I believe his only loss was to Diego de la Hoya. He fought at 122 on that fight. I see a fighter that has a lot of, he fights with a lot of energy. He tries to come forward a lot. I expect an action, a total action fight for the Saturday. It's a fight where I have to be cautious and then see the openings, and then if he launches in, I'll catch him. And if I have to push the tempo, then I'll gladly do that as well.
You know what I wanted to ask you about, especially the loss he had last year in LA. When you spoke to Golden Boy after taking that loss, whether it was, Gomez or Diaz or even De La Hoya or anybody else at Golden Boy, what kind of words of encouragement did they give you, or conversations? Yeah,
they're saying me keep my head up, keep training. It's a fight where it was really close. You'll have your opportunity again, and just keep your head up and keep training.
And then this Saturday, like we mentioned, you are the opening bout on the broadcast. So people who are in the arena at that time will be able to see you, and then people who tune into DAZN will actually be able to see you as well. Because sometimes there's certain bouts that don't make TV. But you are the on the TV portion, which is good. One couple final things, Ricardo. Obviously, we appreciate your time here on the last round this week. We saw in some interviews that like a lot of people, but you're a big Netflix fan. What are you currently watching on Netflix?
Right now, I'm actually watching Manifest.
Oh yeah, it's good.
Yeah, I'm watching Manifest right now.
For people who don't know what that is, tell them what it's about.
So it's about an airplane. I guess they were in Jamaica, and they were flying back home, and I guess they're like entering into into a storm thing. But in that storm, I think they were stuck for I don't remember how many years, but they were in there for I think 20 plus years, or for a very long time. But for them, it was really short. But the people that they were in the hometown, it was like years in that had passed, so they thought they were dead and everything. So when they fly back in, there was something that they didn't expect, and then there's people that have them as passengers, A2A passengers, and they have them as bad people, and then they have the people that were in the flight, they have these superpower callings, and they see the future, and they try to save the world or some things like that. It's a really really good show. It's actually I believe it's actually number one in the Netflix right now here in the US. Yeah.
Is there one show, and it doesn't even have to be on Netflix, but is there one show, an old show or anything that's been out for a long time that you always find yourself just going back to because it's, even though you've already kind of seen it all?
I will say there's not a show, but it was a movie. It's Central Intelligence from Kevin Hart and The Rock. That movie's funny. That movie's hilarious.
So that's your go-to, huh? Anytime it's on, or you'll just put it on, even though probably the lines word by word, right?
Yeah. It's a movie that I always like.
Well, obviously, good luck on Saturday on DAZN. Like I said, you are. Oh, Mike has one more thing before we finish up here.
One last question.
Yeah.
So, Terence Crawford, Errol Spence, July 29th. Who have you got, Ricardo?
It's a tough fight, but I have a feeling that Spence is gonna come out on top because I think he's naturally bigger. He has that power. I'm not saying Crawford has that power, but I will say that Spence has that natural power. I don't know what it is. I think, and we've never seen Spence hurt. We have seen Crawford hurt. You know, he got rocked by Gamboa a couple times, and I think, you know, having the power of Spence, because Spence could hit too. So, you know, I think it's gonna be interesting. But I got Spence maybe 55-45. It's gonna be a close fight, even closer. It's gonna be good. It's gonna be a great fight.
Who's your pound for pound best fighter in the world today?
Inoue, the monster.
Yeah.
Not a bad choice.
Yeah, it's a
not
good
a bad
shout.
choice.
Yeah,
he's a monster.
Yeah, even though like there's questions, you know, because there's a lot of people that don't like in the 118. There's not a lot of like known people, like a lot like big fighters. But I think when he beats Fulton, that's what I believe. I think he's gonna beat Fulton. You know, it's gonna prove that he's up there. He's literally like the number one fighter.
And actually, one last question. Out of all the belts, the sanctioning bodies, obviously the major ones, you got the WBC, IBF, WBO, WBA. And you can even throw an IBO in there. They're in the shadows right there as well. Obviously, as a fighter, you'd want to be undisputed and have all of them, right? But if there's one belt that you know, if you could, I guess, pick and choose, or you could kind of wish to get the first time as a world champion, which one is it?
I always like the green one, the ABC one. I think that it's a good looking belt. You know, it's simple.
Mm-hmm.
You know, but that one belt, the Ring magazine is also really nice. You know, it looks antique. You know, it's unique. It's different. But I would say if I had to choose, I'd probably say the WBC. And because that one also because they give when a fighter wins that belt, they also give a belt to your trainer, which is really cool. So that's something that I always liked about them.
Yeah, that's true. They do give you that trainer belt, and a lot of people forget that too. That's a cool little gesture by the WBC. So as we mentioned, Ricardo, some people call you Ricardito. Is that true?
Yeah, they call me Ricardito, El Niño. Yeah, because my dad's name is also Ricardo. So
you're technically a junior?
Yeah, you could say
Yeah. Is that why they call you El Niño too, because you're a junior?
No, they call me El Niño because
or the weather.
No, because growing up, I was there was 3 families that lived in one house. Like it was all my cousins and it was all my aunts and my uncles, and they all had girls. I was the only boy, so they will all call me, like, even my tias. Even today, all my tias that are like my uncles and everything, they're like, oh, El Niño, and like people are like, so it just stuck with me. And like even today, like people think that I'm like 16, even though I'm 24. People think I'm like 16, 17. And I was like, and you know, it just fits perfectly into my name, El Niño.
For our British listeners that don't know Spanish,
it means the kid.
There you go,
the kid. Yeah, not the weather. I'm sure there's people listening who think like, oh, he's calling himself El Niño for the weather pattern or something, right? Yeah. So obviously, Ricardo, we appreciate your time here on the last round. You fight this Saturday, as I mentioned, the 10th of June at the Toyota Arena on DAZN in Ontario, California. Before we finish up here, Ricardo, go ahead and let our listeners and everybody who's listening right now know where they can find you and follow you online, and anything else you got.
Yeah. You can follow me on Instagram on Ricardo_Sandoval99. And that's it. Just tune in on Saturday. You know, it's going to be a great fight. You know, it's a fight where, you know, it could steal the show. So tune in.
Sounds good. Mike, as we cross the finish line here for this week's episode, go ahead and let them know where they can find us and follow us.
We are at The Last Round 12 on Instagram and Twitter, and be sure to join us next week.
Awesome. So for our guest of the weekend, Ricardo El Niño Sandoval, for my co-host Michael Shepard, I'm Danny Z. This is The Last Round.
Thanks for supporting and listening to the show. Follow us at The Last Round 12 on social media. Rate, review, and subscribe. This is the Last Round Podcast.